to the NXT Podcast, your home for weekly NXT reviews and insight.
The beautiful part of NXT is that when one dream ends, another dream begins.
Find all of your NXT news, recaps, and analysis right here. So with that being said, we only have one question for you.
Are you ready?
We thought so. Let's get the show started right now.
Ladies and gentlemen, NXT podcast time. I'm your host. My name is Zachary Smith. You knew that. Here to talk about NXT 2.0. Zach, why is the episode late again? Man, I work in a hospital, and it's a little bit crazy right now. And so, sometimes these things happen, but I'm excited to be here with you today. Before we get started on this wonderful and very well thought out and loved for and cared for, and again, very well thought out, quote-unquote wrestling program, as always, you can follow me on Twitter. I'm at ZachNXT, at ZACHNXT. You can see me talk about wrestling and other fun stuff over there. You can watch me argue with Mimi Burris because somehow she manages to always be wrong and doesn't realize it. And frankly, she needs to be knocked down a peg. Sick of her having her way with everything, You can follow me over there. Now, before we talk about the show, we usually talk about the news and notes, what's going on in WWE. Some of those headlines that we're looking at. From Yahoo, Dave Bautista says he struggled to fit in at WWE. It was just a very toxic atmosphere. I don't think that would be surprising for anybody to learn. I think that's pretty clear. I think it's very telling that Jon Moxley and Chris Jericho and everybody that's come from WWE, the first thing they always say is that, oh man, the men and women back here are the best, and this is the best atmosphere. That almost makes it seem like where you were before was very bad, because I know if I started a new job and my old job was bad or toxic, that new job, as long as they're just like good, not great, is probably going to be praiseworthy, huh? That seems about right. Complex says WWE's Universal Champion Roman Reigns remains unmatched. Quote, nobody touches me in this business, unquote. Huh. That's a good bad guy thing to say. Kenny Omega touch it. Right, okay. So we know like there are people that touch him. He is doing the best work of his career though. For executives at a company that often like to tell their own fans who say, why didn't you do it this way or that way? They tend to fall back on, well, you've never run a wrestling company. Hindsight's 2020. You weren't in the room making the decisions, even though we're very private about that and don't let new people in there. The hindsight 2020 thing is a big one because every wrestling fan I know knew that Roman Reigns needed to turn into a bad guy and stop trying to make him John Cena. Everybody called that. That's not hindsight. That's looking at the reaction. WWE were the stubborn ones. And were the wrong ones, and wasted 5 years of Roman's WrestleMania career on main events that they're going to say, oh, he had 5 WrestleMania main events, but none of them are going to go down in history as important, not because of Roman Reigns, because of the way they used him. And they'll say those 5 years count, and they just don't, But yeah, he's the top or the 1B to 1A top of the business right now. He's always had that potential. They've always seen that in him. Just took him forever to get there. Tony Khan says gloves are off with AEW Rampage set for WWE SmackDown Battle. A lot of people didn't love that Tony Khan basically said, I'm running this and it's going to be competition and I have more money than them, so if I wanted to do that, I could, so on and so forth. I mean, I just really feel like this is kind of the whole point of a competition. Like, the two companies don't have to like each other. Like, they don't have to be respectful of each other. Like, even if Tony Khan's wrong and he gets beat by SmackDown, who cares? Like, part of the thing that was so cool about the Monday Night Wars between WWE and WCW is that they trashed each other. Like, they made fun of Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage, the WWE did. WCW gave spoilers for taped Raw finishes. Like, this is kind of some of the fun of it. You don't have to take everything so serious. One of these companies doing well does not mean the other one is going out of business. You don't have to... if you have to constantly fight and say, oh, no, my thing I like is better, it either isn't or you're not sure enough about it and don't want to change it. And either way, that's a little weird, huh? So, like, if you enjoy WWE more, enjoy WWE. Who cares what AEW does? If you enjoy AEW more, just focus on what AEW is doing. You don't have to measure it against Friday Night SmackDown. Like, this isn't WCW. The goal is not to put WWE out of business. They never said they wanted to be the only wrestling company. They said they wanted to be an alternative and be a real wrestling show. WWE is not a wrestling program. It hasn't been for many years. So a wrestling show can exist and an entertainment vehicle can exist and not have to go out of business. Like, those two things can run at the same time. It's fine. I, on average, enjoy AEW way, way more than I enjoy WWE. Doesn't mean I want WWE to go away. I want the bad people in WWE to go away. I don't want WWE to be gone from the face of the earth. I just feel like you're taking it too seriously if your day kind of hinges on posting a tweet about Tony Khan being an idiot. Like, that seems like a heck of a day you had. Time to talk about NXT 2.0. Hit Row is arriving at the building, minus Ashanti the Adonis. Swerve has headphones on, and B-Fab and Top Dollar are behind him, talking about not being able to get in contact with Ashanti. Top Dollar says he's hit him up a few times, and he hasn't answered him. We're focusing more on Swerve, who's bobbing his head to whatever music he's listening to. He does not notice for a second that Top Dollar and B-Fab are being attacked. It is, in fact, Legado del Fantasma, who throw them into their black SUV, beat down Swerve, leave him there, and drive off with the other two. They remind us that Halloween Havoc is in 2 weeks. And again, cannot stress enough how I don't feel like we're ready to do what is essentially what a takeover used to be. So Halloween Havoc last year, we still had NXT 1.0, where the point was a really, really, really good card of wrestling. This year, this is a developmental brand, and on one hand, I completely understand that part of being a developmental brand is, in fact, getting people a lot of experience in these kinds of situations. Sure, that makes sense. On the other hand, this is going to be essentially a pay-per-view or a takeover or a network special, which means the point is not going to be promos and your dumb stories. The point is going to be the wrestling. And on quite literally every episode of NXT 2.0 thus far, there's been alright vignettes or non-interesting promos or character intros, and then there's been setup, and there's been 3-minute matches. Sometimes your main event will go long, like tonight. Really just a standard old NXT match length. But for the most part, most of these people that are going to be featured on this card have not had many matches at all, especially any particularly long ones. And so I think throwing them into a Halloween Havoc just like a month after you rebooted the whole thing with the creative direction of presumably Vince McMahon and or Bruce Pritchard having input, I just feel like that's a bad combination of things. Am I going to watch it? Yeah, I'm going to watch it because I have a feeling it might not be good, and I'm going to talk about it either way. We cut, and Joe Gacy is sitting in the ring on a chair. It's a cool moment. Joe Gacy's cutting this dog, I almost cursed on this show, dog crap promo. There it is. Saved it. He's cutting his promo. It's bad. It's what WWE thinks a heel is. And the funny part is he's talking about is like, it doesn't make sense because it's a wrestling ring, you fight, but he's talking about safe spaces and inclusion and toxic masculinity, all good things to talk about. But WWE presents it, of course, in such a way that that person would be the bad guy, because obviously, of course, look up anything about the McMahon's history or affiliations, and you will have no problem figuring out how it is they got to that point. But he's cutting this promo, and he says this win is for all of you. And he smiles into the camera, but it's a weird smile. It looks like a smile of somebody who practiced how to smile, who like was not familiar with the concept, or is like not somebody who smiles and had to practice and make himself. But his eyes kind of look dead. He looks a little bit dead behind the eyes. So he like does this smile. It doesn't move. His eyes don't move. Nothing. And that's unsettling a little bit, right? But then they do that thing where Ciampa's music interrupts him. And most people look over to where the music is coming from. Joe Gacy doesn't move. So part of Ciampa's entrance is like it gets dark and there's red lights. And so now you see Joe Gacy in the dark with just a red light on him. And he moves the mic away from his face as if he's annoyed. But he still doesn't move his head. He doesn't stop smiling. He moves the mic away like somebody who is annoyed and keeps that exact same smile, does not move his eyes, does not move his mouth, anything. And I don't know if that was on purpose or if we're ever going to go anywhere with that. It sure doesn't seem like it. I don't know, dude. But that was a really cool character moment by Joe Gacy. Like, he smiled, but it was like clearly a practiced and unnatural thing for him. And he was dead behind the eyes, and Ciampa's music came on. He was clearly annoyed, moved the mic away like he was, but kept that smile on. And it was unsettling in a very good way. I like it. During the match, they cut to the audience, and Harland is still out. Is Harland buying a ticket every week to do this? Because he's sitting in the audience and staring down Joe Gacy. I don't know if, like, he would have been there. If this had been the main event, would he have sat there for the whole show? Is he paying full price for a ticket every time? I have a lot of questions about Harland. He still looks bad bald. I feel like that's an important update. In case you were wondering, he is in fact still bald. And it still looks bad. I guess he's supposed to look mad, but he just looks weird bald. He just looks like a weird dude. Okay, and so Ciampa just straight up wins. Or I thought that Joe Gacy was going to win and get added to that triple threat match, because that would be two new superstars, and also if you want Braun Breaker to be your NXT champion, you can have him pin Joe Gacy. So I thought it was going to be Joe Gacy winning, but that's fine. So Ciampa will defend that NXT title one-on-one against Braun Breaker. What a ridiculous sentence. At Halloween Havoc in just a couple weeks. So Ciampa is now by the entrance ramp, and it cuts over to the stands, and Harland has gotten down, and he attacks Ciampa. Joe Gacy goes over to help, and Harland grabs him kind of halfway between his throat and his chin. He's kind of grabbing his face. I'm not sure what the goal was. And he's going to do something to him. Gacy, I'm trying to think how to explain this. Joe Gacy takes his right hand and uses like the back of his fingers to caress the side of Harland's face. You ever seen a romantic comedy where the dude will run his fingers across the girl's face and then they kiss? Like he did that, but to just another dude who's bald. And if that's the way they live, I support it, man. But that it looked like he was putting a spell on him, because Harland looks, I don't know, concerned, and he drops his hand, and he just kind of runs off camera, dude. During the choke part, fans were chanting, "Who are you?" And then when Harland ran away, I distinctly heard one fan yell, "Where are you going?" I don't understand what happened here at all. So Harlan seems to know Joe Gacy. Joe Gacy seems to know Harlan. I don't know if his name's even gonna be Harlan. They haven't said. He looks so bad bald. Please let him grow his hair back. What? Okay, obvious question, I understand, but still a necessary one. Why does Joe Gacy have the power to do the, like, Mantis thing from Guardians where she can, like, make you calm? Why can Joe Gacy do that? Did Vince watch Guardians of the Galaxy finally and he thought that was cool? Why can he massage Harlan's face and that makes Harlan calm down enough to release whatever that move was he was going for? And also put Joe Gacy down, not attack him, and then run off camera and presumably out of the arena, dude. What? I mean, what? Okay, but what are we doing? And, like, a lot of times they'll be like, oh, you just gotta have patience and watch the story develop. And, like, I get that most of the time. I tend to agree that maybe we should let stuff play out. But this was bad. And also, I need you to explain, like, a little bit at least, why Joe Gacy has touch magic. Because listen, if Joe Gacy has touch magic, I'm not even saying that's a terrible thing. If you think for a second I'm not dead inside enough to watch Joe Gacy's touch magic every Tuesday night, I already watch NXT 2.0 and record this podcast about it. You think I'm sweating if Joe Gacy has touch magic, dude? I would giggle at it every week. But if we're going to do touch magic, that feels like something you got to prime me for. You don't just do touch magic like out the gate, because where did he get the touch magic? Why is he so creepy when he smiles? Feels like we have like 6 different ideas for this character, but like not one idea. And so we're just gonna like do some stuff and like we're gonna do it. So we're gonna have to figure out next week what was going on. But instead of doing that, we're just gonna like throw a new idea out here. I think they think Harlan is supposed to be intimidating and mysterious. And for a long time, WWE has treated the IWC or Internet Wrestling community as this small, niche, like, sub-community, like 0.001% of their audience. And I don't know what year that stopped being true, but it's definitely not true now. We all know that Harlan is Parker Boudreaux. We know Braun Breaker is Rex Steiner. What are you... You can change his name if you want, but we know who that is, dude. He's not like some mysterious man from like a dungeon somewhere that's seeking revenge. That's Parker. I know Parker. And he's mad enough to attack Joe Gacy and Ciampa, but one like touch magic caress calms him down for a second and then freaks him out. Are we doing touch Bray Wyatt with Joe Gacy? Are we doing Bray Wyatt, but if he touches you, not talks to you for Joe Gacy? Because again, that's fine. I hope Mimi never sees it because she will never stop making fun of me for it. So I sincerely hope that she never sees it. That would be the worst person to see this episode. Because she has we are friends on Twitter. We're like phone friends. She could text me, and she will make fun of me about Harlan and Parker and Joe. So I guess that's my main takeaway is, boy, I hope she never sees that. What are we doing? First, what are we doing? Second, don't you dare stop doing Joe Gacy as touch magic. Because the more I've talked it out here, the funnier it's gotten to me. Toxic Attraction are here. Mandy Rose calls herself the baddest B word in the game because that's the swear word WWE knows. Blah, 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 blah. Mandy wants a title shot. Ciampa's being interviewed backstage. Doesn't know what to think of Joe Gacy. Me neither. Says this is a big fight coming up against Braun Breaker. He's interrupted by the grizzled young veterans in suits. They're excited to see Ciampa lose to a rookie at Halloween Havoc. And Braun Breaker steps in and says, yeah, rookie that'll kick your butt. He didn't say the word butt, but you get it. He challenges them. And they say they're not dressed to wrestle tonight. Braun Breaker says to Ciampa, I will stay by your side from now until Halloween Havoc, and I'll have your back because I want to beat you at your best. And they stare at each other in the way that you can only do in wrestling, because if you did it on a TV show, you'd think two characters were in love with each other. But wrestling fans universally understand that means they have a conflict. Because wrestling's real weird, and that's fine. Vignette of, like, somebody pulling a shovel through a grave site, it looks like, and like it's dark and spooky. Somebody appears to be digging up dirt or digging up a grave, I assume. A distorted voice says something to the effect of, I will bury the past and start again. There was like a voice effect on the voice, which I don't know if it was supposed to make it unclear who it was or why it's distorted. It's Dakota Kai. The voice is Dakota Kai. The person in that vignette is Dakota Kai. I don't know what this is either. If Dakota is just going to be goth for a while, that seems like it might be what it is. Or maybe Dakota is going to be the Undertaker for a bit. That could be fun. Or New Zealand Undertaker? Australia? I don't remember where she's from. But she'd be fun as the Undertaker. I don't know, dude. The show's not very interesting at this moment, so you might as well make it the most insane show anywhere on any television screen. I'm here for that. So Dakota Kai's probably going to show back up at Halloween Havoc. So that's phone call right during the podcast, dude. You love to see it, dude. That's pretty. And for the record, it was a spam risk, so it wasn't even like an important one. That's pretty cool. I'm going to be a professional. I'm going to put that on vibrate. There it is, dude. Saved it. Just in time. Nailed it. Listen, let's just make this the craziest, weirdest show anywhere in the world. And then, like, maybe it'll at least be interesting, you know? Or we can keep making WrestleMania main eventers. Speaking of which, Swerve's in the back. He says he's not worried about his friends because they are warriors and they would want him to focus on his match. Now, Swerve, I understand the sentiment here. And this was a really good promo, actually. They don't let Swerve do promos by himself a whole lot. It's usually a hit row by committee thing. Here it was just Swerve. He was mad. He was furious. He was enraged, and he was a lot of fun. But your friends definitely want you to come save them. Like, you can fight Legado del Fantasma later. Can you come save me first, please? So Swerve says that they left the wrong member of Hit Row standing, and he says he's taking the North American title to SmackDown. Again, very good promo. Swerve Scott is so very much money that I bet you they will never use the potential of in full. There's a vignette of Raquel Gonzalez essentially accepting Mandy Rose's challenge, talked about all the people she's beaten. She adds that this match is going to be a spin the wheel, make the deal challenge, which is from Halloween Havoc last year, where you spin a wheel and it picks the stipulation for your match. Now, here's the thing. That was pre-recorded and it was a video package, and that was still not a very good promo, which is not great for Raquel Gonzalez because those vignettes almost always work. The best promo Dakota Kai's ever cut has been in one of those video vignettes, and that's an edited vignette with video behind it. And that still wasn't very good. And that's not great. You know? So, Kyle O'Reilly's out for this weird tag match. Von Wagner is his partner. Von Wagner just looks like some guy. And, dude, his theme is so boring. And I guess that's all I have. Like, I don't dislike Von Wagner. I just nothing him because he's just some dude, you know? And, like, you put him in the NXT title match a few weeks back, but like, that doesn't mean anything. He has to be somebody before you can just make him somebody. Like, he has to have something to latch onto. He's just some guy who likes Kyle O'Reilly for some reason. It's them versus Pete Dunne and Ridge Holland. First, we have to watch Lashing Out. Lash Legend talks about the draft. She heard next year it'll just be called WWE Squid Games, and the audience laughs. Jesus. So the legends of the week are Hit Row. Lash says, who else finds themselves walking around singing Hit Row? Lash sings some of their theme. Lash Legend is a very good singer. She says Tony D'Angelo can forget about being on her show, and that's the end. Tony D'Angelo did not appear on the Hulu cut of this episode of NXT 2.0, and as a result, I have no section in which to do this accent for him, as he is nothing but classy, and so is this accent. Therefore, I'm just going to do it a little bit here, because I will, again, to reinforce, be doing this voice anytime I talk about something that is Tony D'Angelo or involves in some way Tony D'Angelo. However, this accent this week is just to officially inform you that Tony D'Angelo does not appear on this show, and that's a bummer. Pete Dunne and Ridge Holland are in the ring. I legitimately almost forgot at this point that this was a match that was happening. Boy, that sure was short. Von Wagner pinned Ridge Holland clean middle of the ring. Hey, man, what are we doing? Like, I get it. Ridge Holland's going to SmackDown, I think it was. But we're doing a Von Wagner pins him clean. I don't care. You don't care, Doesn't matter, dude. Andre Chase is doing the Chase Institute. This is just the Timothy Thatcher thing. Did you guys think that I just forgot about the Timothy Thatcher thing? Because I watched it every week, and I review the show every week, so I've talked about it a lot. Chase University is just Thatch's Thatch Can School of Wrestling, and Andre Chase is hilarious and is a great character, but I just saw this gimmick. You can't use it again that fast. Saray and Amari Miller already in the ring, going against Indy Hartwell and Persia, something I didn't feel like rewinding to get her last name. No entrances for this at all. Inda and Persia win. Hey, friendly reminder, remember when Saray was going to be like the biggest deal NXT's ever seen in their women's division since Asuka? That was interesting. Remember how that didn't quite feel genuine, like it wasn't going to happen, and then now here we are? Interesting, huh? Mari Miller was a big hot thing for like one episode of NXT. Indy Hartwell's doing her thing. Persia, this is the first time I've seen her. Indy nailed it. Indy is the thing I should have said. And Persia win. They're cutting a promo. They say they want the NXT Women's Tag Titles. Io Shirai and come on, man. Zoe Stark. There it is. Got it. Future of women's wrestling. Come out. I love that Io will still just show up if you talk about the championship that she has. Io says she doesn't like either of them. Zoe Stark does a funny joke and says, you're going to say you don't like me. Io says, don't speak for me. Zoe says, so you do like me. Io says, no. And that's the joke. I wrote in my notes they do bad comedy until Toxic Attraction cuts them off. So I could have skipped retelling you the joke. But so help me God, if I had to watch it, dude, you're going to hear, we're both going to feel bad. I'm not feeling bad by myself. So that all happens. Toxic Attraction is here. Jacy Jane, Gigi Dolan, whose names I have known the whole time. And frankly, shame on you if, for example, you constantly refer to them at first as Mandy Rose and her friends. Like, I don't know who would ever do that. It's Jacy Jane and Gigi Dolan. And I've always, and you can check the records on this, I've always said that. They want the tag titles too. They slide in the ring, they all start fighting, and the announcers try really hard to convince you that they have a rich and deep women's tag division. Cool. Main event, Santos Escobar's making his entrance with all of Legado del Fantasma. Swerve is already in the ring because screw him, he's just a champion. Why would he get an entrance? Santos sends the other members of Legado back to the back. Of course, they make their way back out later, but toward the end here, we got a lot of time. Fun match. Carmelo Hayes and his friend, whose name I do not remember. That's going to happen a lot with these new people. His friend and Carmelo help Swerve retain the North American title. Carmelo's raising Swerve's hand, but then he clotheslines him, attacks him, and uses the contract to challenge for the North American title. It's very similar to a Money in the Bank cash-in, except you have to sign a contract, so it takes longer than a Money in the Bank cash-in. So, Carmelo Hayes eventually beats Swerve and becomes the North American champion. Now, let me ask you a question, my good friend. If you had a contract for any title match you wanted, presumably just in NXT as you wanted in NXT, why wouldn't you do this to Tommaso Ciampa literally earlier in the night and win the literal top championship on the show you're on? Or, if you don't want to do that, why don't you wait until Halloween Havoc and use it on the NXT title? Why would your choice be the mid-card title if you can challenge for it? All I'm saying, dude, is a Money in the Bank winner has never cashed in on the Intercontinental or United States champion. Do you know why? Because whatever the hell would be the point of that? Congratulations, you won Money in the Bank. Sweet. I'm going to cash this in on Shinsuke, and I'm going to be the Intercontinental Champion. I know Roman's here, or Big E's here, but I'd rather have this mid-card. If you are Carmelo Hayes, you could have come out in the first segment of this show when the NXT champion was wrestling a wrestling match. You could have brought your friend out there, beat up Ciampa, either during his match or after. You could have beat him down with your friend, then cashed in the contract, and you could have left as the NXT champion. Instead, you waited all night and then came out to help Swerve, turned on him, and are the North American champion. Now you have to deal with Legado del Fantasma being mad at you. You now also have to deal with Swerve being mad at you. But all you got out of it was the mid-card title, which means you're never going to be as big as the NXT champion, which would have been fine, except that contract was for any title match you wanted. Why would you ever in the world would you pick the less important of the two championships? I need somebody to explain it to me, because I've tried to make sense of it, and I got nothing. And if you listen to this show, you know I love Carmelo Hayes. He's one of my favorites on NXT 2.0. You just made Carmelo Hayes look like an idiot. Yeah, he's the new North American champion. I like the different storytelling. I like that Carmelo is a champion. Why would he use his contract on that? That's the second most important title in NXT, and the person who holds the first most important was there that night wrestling. Anyway, that's NXT 2.0. I don't know about you, I'm geared up for Halloween Havoc, boy. Can't wait to see Carmelo defend that championship he just won, huh? Women's tag titles, woohoo! I'm pumped. In the meantime, check back here every week for reviews of this fantastic wrestling show by me, yours truly, Zachary Smith, your host. Hi. Find me on Twitter one more time at ZachNXT, at ZACHNXT. I better not see any of you sending the Joe Gacy Hardland thing to Mimi, because Mimi Burris will never let me live that down. I'm serious. Do not tweet at her, because she will not let me live it down. I know her. In the meantime, that's it for NXT, mercifully, and that's it for me. As always, I have been your host. My name is Zachary Smith. You have been fantastic as always, and thank you for listening.